Your budgie is staring at you again, completely still, watching you from across the room without blinking much, without chirping, without moving away, and something about it feels different, not cute, not curious, just strange. Most owners ignore moments like this because staring doesn't seem dangerous. But here's what most people never realize. Budgies communicate constantly through body language, and prolonged staring is often one of the clearest emotional signals they can give. Sometimes it means trust, sometimes fear, sometimes stress, and sometimes your bird trying to tell you something is very wrong. These are the 8 hidden reasons your budgie stares at you like that, and why understanding the difference could completely change the way you read your bird. Let's start with the reason most owners completely misunderstand. Number 1, your budgie is trying to read your emotional state. Budgies are flock animals. And flock animals survive by constantly monitoring the behavior of everyone around them. In nature, one nervous bird can signal danger for the entire flock, so your budgie's brain evolved to study movement constantly. Your posture, your breathing, your tone, even the speed you walk across the room. That's why your budgie sometimes stares at you silently when you're stressed, upset, or emotionally different than usual. They are not judging you. They're scanning for information, trying to understand whether the environment still feels safe. And because budgies are incredibly sensitive to subtle behavioral changes, they often notice emotional shifts before humans consciously realize them themselves. Number 2, they are unsure whether you are safe. This happens especially with newer budgies, rescues, or birds that lost trust previously. To humans, staring can feel emotional. To prey animals, staring is survival analysis. Your budgie is asking, are you dangerous or are you safe? And because humans are enormous compared to them, their instincts naturally remain cautious for a long time. That's why nervous budgies often freeze and stare before deciding whether to move closer or farther away. You'll usually notice other signs too. Tight feathers, stiff posture, slower blinking, or leaning slightly backward. Their body is gathering information before making a decision. And every calm interaction slowly teaches them whether they can relax around you. Number 3, your budgie wants your attention. This surprises many owners because the bird looks quiet. But silence does not always mean emotional distance. Sometimes your budgie stares because they are waiting for social interaction, especially bonded budgies. In the wild, budgies constantly monitor flock members visually. They look toward the birds they trust most often. That's why some budgies stare directly at their owners while they work, eat, or move around the room. Not because something is wrong, because your bird is socially focused on you. You may even notice soft blinking, relaxed feathers, gentle chirping, or slight head tilts. Those are signs the stare is emotionally calm rather than fearful. To your budgie, watching you simply feels important. Number 4, they are frightened by something nearby. Sometimes the stare has nothing to do with you at all. Budgies lock their eyes onto potential threats before deciding how to react. And because their eyesight is extremely sensitive, they notice things humans completely miss. A shadow outside, movement near a window, a sound in another room, a reflection, another animal. Their body becomes still while the brain analyzes danger. And during that moment, owners often think, why is my budgie staring at me like that? But really, the bird is staring through you, past you, or towards something connected to your movement. Fear-based staring usually looks different. Wide eyes, frozen posture, raised alertness, sudden silence. Your budgie's nervous system is basically asking, do I need to escape right now? Number 5, your budgie may not feel well. This is one owners miss constantly because sick budgies try extremely hard to look normal. But behavior changes quietly before physical symptoms become obvious. And sometimes one of the first changes is prolonged staring. A sick budgie often becomes less playful, less vocal, and more still overall. Instead of actively interacting, they simply observe, especially if the staring comes with puffed feathers, sleepiness, reduced chirping, tail bobbing, or low activity. At that point, the bird may not be calmly watching you. They may be conserving energy. And because budgies hide illness instinctively, small behavioral changes matter much more than most people realize. Number 6. Your budgie is confused by your behavior. Humans forget how unpredictable we look to prey animals. Fast movements, ramen noises, hands reaching suddenly, new objects appearing. Sometimes your budgie stares simply because your behavior stopped making sense to them temporarily. Maybe you changed your hairstyle, wore different clothes, moved furniture, started carrying something unfamiliar. To us, those changes feel insignificant. To a tiny prey animal, they can completely alter how safe the environment feels. That's why budgies often stare intensely before approaching anything unfamiliar. Their survival depends on careful observation first, movement second. Number 7, your budgie is deeply bonded to you. This is the version most owners hope for. Bonded budgies often visually track their favorite person constantly, not because they are anxious, because flock connection matters emotionally to them. You'll notice this especially when they follow you with their eyes, watch the doorway waiting for you, or immediately relax once you enter the room. Your presence regulates their nervous system the same way flock presence would in nature. And strong bonds create visual attachment. That's why some budgies stare softly at their owner for long periods without fear, without tension, without needing anything. They simply like knowing where you are. For a flock animal, that feeling is emotional safety. And finally, Number 8. Something about the stare feels emotionally wrong. Experienced bird owners understand this instantly because sometimes you just know. The eyes feel different, the energy feels different, the bird feels absent somehow. Healthy staring usually carries curiosity, alertness, or social engagement. But unhealthy staring often feels empty, distant, slow. Unfocused, almost like your budgie is physically present, but mentally exhausted. And owners who notice this change early are often the ones who catch illness or severe stress before it becomes critical. Because the eyes reveal emotional condition long before the body fully does. Your budgie cannot explain what they feel with words, so they communicate through posture, movement, energy, and attention. Including the way they look at you. That's why staring should never be dismissed automatically as meaningless behavior. Sometimes it means trust, sometimes confusion, sometimes fear, sometimes sickness. And the difference matters more than most people realize, because once you truly learn how to read your budgie's eyes, you start understanding emotions your bird has been communicating all along. The quiet moments begin making sense, the nervous moments, the affectionate moments, even the unhealthy ones, and suddenly your budgie stops feeling unpredictable and starts feeling understandable. So next time your budgie stares at you from across the room, don't ignore it immediately. Pay attention to the posture, the feathers, the eyes, the energy behind the stare. Because your bird may be trying to tell you something long before any obvious symptoms appear, and the owners who learn to notice those small changes early are usually the ones their budgies trust the most.